Hi friends, welcome back. So I want to have a chat with you about saving and investing for your future. And I want to read a comment that just came in yesterday. This is from Jack. Jack writes, "You're a well-off Korean living in Korea. So of course your interests are for everyone to do things by the book." And I read this comment yesterday and I was like, what the heck is this person talking about? I don't know what it means. But I do want to address a couple of things. So first is, you're a well-off Korean. So whether or not I'm well off, I'll let you guys be the judge of that. I think all that stuff is relative. Whether or not I'm Korean, I'll be the judge of that. I'll just tell you, I'm not Korean. I was born in Vietnam at the end of the Vietnam War. I lost my family in the war, and I grew up in the USA, so I have a US passport, so I know who I am. I know for some people who have maybe never been to a place like Korea, or maybe never been to the USA, I don't know, or never met someone like myself, they just make certain kind of assumptions. And this is something that I've learned in the world is don't necessarily make assumptions when you don't know. So I can tell you, I'm not Korean. The other part here is, so of course your interests are for everyone to do things by the book. I don't know what this means. I'll let you guys be the judge of that. I just don't know. And yeah, I don't know. My wife says, it's funny because I always show my wife this kind of stuff. And she's like, don't try to understand stupid. And that's actually really good advice. I always mention my wife because she's really smart and she helps keep me sane in this crazy world. And preferably frank, I try to pass on wisdom from my wife to you. And because I think we all need some sanity in this nutso world. I'll give you an example. This is another headline that just came out. God, things are so crazy. Read it here. A mystery 30 million wave of pro-Trump bets has moved a popular prediction market. 4 poly market accounts have systematically placed frequent wagers on a Trump election victory. So what's going on is there's this market thing called poly market, and you can bet on anything. In this particular situation, you can bet on who's going to win the election. And Musk has actually been tweeting out, oh, look at this, it looks like the odds of Trump are winning or keep going up. It's awesome. And it's like 60-40 right now, right? According to these sort of, betting markets, and it's like a crypto thing. And what's interesting about this is that the Wall Street Journal did the story. I guess, if you're in the crypto world, you can kind of trace where the money's going and where it's coming from. And there's these 4 accounts. I'll read the names of them. It's Freddie 9999, Theo 4, Princess Cairo, and Mitchie. They're all making these bets at the same time. It's like $30 million worth, and basically betting Trump's going to win, okay? And so then you have this money sort of, and you can make the case whether or not it's manipulated or not, but I'll just say that this money, pouring in, making this bet on one side, and then you have, Musk retweeting this kind of stuff out as if it's news. Now, the thing that's kind of crazy about this stuff, and this is sort of where I want to get into the, reality distortion and sort of manipulation that we see in markets, is remember Musk is moving a bunch of Bitcoin over at Tesla to some unknown walls. That was reported a couple days ago, and it's like 765 million worth. We know Musk is now offering $100 to voters per voter, I guess, to get their info and try to convince them to vote a certain kind of way. And this is the crazy world that we live in, right? You have people trying to manipulate reality, and also too, you have big money doing so. Guys, I want to have a talk with you about this, and I mentioned, about saving, investing for your future, is if you feel like you're going crazy, and sometimes I feel like this when I read through the Musk forums, because I read what the people say about the fanboys and fangirls, and it's like, oh my God, are these people insane? Like if someone shows me a product, say Robotaxi or Tesla Robot, and I can tell it's a scam, I'm just like, oh my God, this is a scam. And then yet, the reality is I see all these like crazy fanboys and fangirls all tell me how awesome it is, and it's like weird gaslighting where I don't know what reality is anymore, right? And my advice to you is in this kind of world is find a community and find people around you that live in reality and are willing to tell you the truth. So I hope I do that for you every single day. That's why I mentioned my wife, who keeps me saying, just says, like, don't try to understand stupid. And one of the things that I write about in my book is called Positive Angle. And I mentioned it from time to time on the channel, but I want to mention it again today. It's really about if you find yourself in a place that you don't belong, and you find yourself in a place, people who are negative influences on you, you got to get out. This is perfectly frank, you got to get out. I struggled a long time when I was young, trying to find the place that made sense for me, and I started to go crazy, to be perfectly frank. And when I flip on, say stuff on YouTube and social media, I feel like the world is nuts, and in a seriously bad way. I give you a perfect example. is like, it seems like whatever channel you go to, especially if you watch these sort of finance channels, it's like everyone's selling you, give me $100 a month and I'm going to unlock all of the secrets of the market and you're going to be rich. So it's like, hey guys, I'll show you how to be rich. Just give me a bunch of money. Like it's like inundated with that stuff on YouTube, social media. And I'm just here to tell you that all that stuff is frankly BS. And then you got this on the sort of like how crypto markets can sort of influence quote election markets, whatever that means. And you got that stuff all as well. And I know for a lot of people out there, just like, and someone asked me a comment, and I couldn't find it, but I saw it. Someone asked me, he's like, "Hey Chris, do you have any tips for moving abroad?" So I know a lot of this comes up well, let's just say the last couple election seasons where people feel like we live in the land of idiocracy. And I'll be very frank, I think it is going that way in the USA. It's not every country in the world is that way, but definitely in the USA, I see it. Frankly, I see it. And if you haven't seen the movie Idiocracy, please check it out. You'll see exactly what we're talking about. But basically, it just means that we're heading towards a future where things are more dumb, things are more fake, and it's just awful to be around. If you watch our live stream recently, I had my friend Kyle come on, and before we started the air, Kyle was telling me about in his particular neighborhood, he's uncomfortable, putting out a political sign, and you probably guess which one, because he lives in a very, very conservative part, and in his neighborhood, if you say put out a sign, maybe someone in your neighborhood will come, graffiti your house. People in your neighborhood have guns, like they may threaten you. This kind of stuff. This is real for some people. You like live in just really awful places. But it's not just. I don't want to imply that it's just only more conservatively. You can say democratic cities can be similar in awful places in other types of ways. I'll give you an example. I found my family after 40 years, and I've talked about it before on the channel. I visited my mom for the first time, and they lived in Baltimore. And I told you before, and I'll tell you again, Baltimore is awful. The crime rate is just through the roof there. We visited downtown Baltimore, and there's just beggars everywhere. It was terrible. And the neighborhood that my mom lived in, and I said lived because she passed away, but there were beggars at the grocery store, and just a lot of riffraff everywhere that we went, and I just thought it was awful. And moreover, like when I met some of my brothers and sisters, they're just really, really bad influences. We had it's uncomfortable to talk about it. I'm telling you the truth and stuff. There's one person that I'm related to, and it's kind of a distant relationship, but we're related by through marriage. And basically, they live in this neighborhood where their kids run around without shoes, and it doesn't necessarily mean that having no money means you're automatically a certain kind of way, right? Because guys, I grew up without a lot. I've told you this before, and I grew up picking berries when I was 12 years old, and picked berries with the Mexican immigrants. And if you don't know, in Oregon, there's a lot of like berry farms everywhere, and that's how I paid for things. I worked in grocery stores. I worked on farms baling hay, which is really, really hard work. Did that in high school, and I just always knew that there was a better world out there. I knew it. I could read books. I could see things on TV. And when all my friends were out just partying and drinking their lives away, basically, or back then when I was a kid, this would be like kid in the 80s and the 90s. A lot of dudes, they like to put like big woofers in their cars. That was like a big thing. I don't know if kids do that today, but it was back then. So it's so ridiculous when I look back now. But for me, that wasn't what I was up to. I was saving up my money, and I was basically using it to pay for college applications, to try to better myself. I share this, guys, with you because I know for some people you may feel like you live in the land of crazy, and in some cases you may be completely right. But not everywhere and not everyone is freaking nuts, right? I know it feels like that because I do social media every day, and I look around and I just like, oh my God, most of the stuff on YouTube and TikTok, whatever, is just frankly nonsense, right? People telling you to eat soap, right? That's a real thing that some Americans are doing, or people telling you to walk across milk crates, or the most popular sort of say finance YouTubers, they park a Lambo or Ferrari in the garage or whatever, and it's just like that's like the worst thing you could do with your money. Buying crap that's going to go down in value, going to be ridiculous maintenance, ridiculous to insure, and you're filming in like this tiny little garage. Like you'll see people do this. And the famous one is the Tai Lopez guy here in my garage, right? Knowledge, right? You guys know this stuff. and it's like all nonsense. Um, I'm thankful every single day to have the community to chat with you guys about the news and this kind of stuff, because it takes, how can I say, it takes courage to go against the grain, especially when everything around you in the grain is crazy. Um, I can't predict the future 100%, right? I can't predict what's going to happen with the markets 100%. I can kind of see where things are going. That's sort of what we look at the news and the trends. Like I can see it, but do I know 100% if we're going to go to war, stay at war? Which politician is going to win every single race? I don't know, right? Which bills are going to pass for sure, not for sure? I don't know. But I have a general idea of like what things are trying to get passed and where things are going. That's sort of what I try to share with you guys all the time. I think what's important though, when we ever talk about this stuff, is to keep a calm head and stay cool, especially about your life and your money. Guys, money's important. I never make any jokes about that. I really know. It allows you to live more stress-free, okay? If you live under your means, you're not freaking out all the time, okay? You're not like, because people do this. They leverage to the hilt and they make huge bets. So let's say, for example, that the bet on the election thing isn't necessarily manipulation. Let's just say it's just someone's really confident or hoping in a Trump win, and so they bet like $30 million and they use 4 different accounts to do that. What happens if they lose, right? It's a gamble. That's gambling, basically. Um, the thing is about what you want to be thinking about with your future is not gambling for a better future, is basically investing, saving, and ensuring a better future, right? Go with the sure things. That's what you want to do, and it's going to be different for everyone. One of the sure things, I'll just give you some examples. One of the sure things is making sure that you have job skills to where you're always needed, right? You're never worried about getting a job because you have skills that people need, right? That'd be one. Another one is making sure that you have friends and colleagues around you that have your back and that are honest with you. And as my point of view on this kind of stuff, if someone lies to me, someone cheats me or something like that, I'm not going to hang out with them anymore, right? It's one strike, you're out. I don't need to mess with that kind of stuff, because there's just too many other people out there that you can hang out with and be positive for you, right? And it's kind of like, think of it this way: if you get stuck in a bad relationship, or you see your friend get stuck in a bad relationship, and they do something bad to you, and you break up and you come back, and you break up and come back, and you keep doing that, like there comes a point where you can't just blame the other person for doing the bad thing. It's your part of that relationship too. You got to blame yourself. So get out of those bad relationships, right? Another thing is when you live under your means, right? So that means you don't have to spend all of your money all the time, right? In fact, if you end up making more, save more, right? Plan better for the future. Put your money in assets that are going to grow, right? This kind of stuff. I know it doesn't sound cool and exciting to grow your assets. Like it's more cool, like, hey, I got a Ferrari in my garage, awesome, But like, the one thing that I'll say, which the comment got me thinking about. Hey guys, it's true. I live in Korea, and I'm absolutely thrilled to be here in Busan. And I mentioned my channel before, the vlog channel, because we show it. It's really fun to film going to baseball games, going to the beach. It's fun. We have fun doing it. Not that many people watch our videos. It's like a couple hundred views a video, but we do it because it's fun, and I enjoy it. The same way you can talk about my main channel here. I'm not a big channel whatsoever, but I do it because it's fun, and I like to honestly just give you guys the best advice possible. I was professor for about 10 years, and actually, I told you this before in the last video. My wife's friend came, and then her husband came, and I spent time talking to the husband. And it's funny because he asked me, do I miss being a professor? And I was like, no, not really. I did that for 10 years, but I sort of keep that kind of, how can I say, calling going. I do miss this sort of interaction with people, and where people say, hey, I got this problem, what advice do you have for me? And I give honest advice and stuff. And I think for a lot of people, they live in an environment, because like this is what I grew up in, where there's no good role models around you, right? Where you do have role models around you, maybe adults, but like the adults around you are out buying the Cybertrucks, or out drinking all the time, or out going to casinos, or doing whatever crazy crap, and you think that is the only type of way to live. And I'm just here to tell you that it's not. You don't have to move to Korea. There's lots of other places you can go, right? You don't have to leave the USA. There's lots of places you can go within the USA. The thing is, though, is you got to find a place that makes sense for you, right? Find a place where people around you are encouraging you positive lifestyles. Find a place where people around you are talking sane, right? And you'll know sane talk when you hear it. Like, I'll give you a simple example, guys. And we've all been there. I can tell you I've been there. Sometimes, and I always use car as an example, but it's a good one. You go to the car dealership and you're looking at, cars. And there's usually different models you can buy. You know this. There's the cheap ones, the middle ones, the expensive ones, etc. And then you're choosing options and such. And the way the car dealer, right, the guy who's trying to sell you the car, the salesperson, they're trying to convince you to buy the most expensive car on the lot, basically, right? And deep down in your heart what you can afford, but often is that you essentially lie to yourself and say, well, I deserve it. I worked hard. I deserve it. I got to get the most expensive car that money can buy. The salesperson even agrees, but they don't have your back. And what I want you to be thinking about in your life is how many basically, fake salesmen are there out there in your life that are pushing you to things that you shouldn't be doing. And you essentially want to separate yourself from those kind of people. So good example is, every time you drive by that car lot, looking at whatever, fancy car that you're thinking about, do you need it, right? If you don't even look at the car lot. Don't stop, right? Just avoid those kind of situations. And that goes the same as picking a city to live and finding a place that makes sense for you. Live in an area where there's a lot of positive influences. So for example, I'm not going to go live in a city that has lots and lots of casinos, right? There's just too much temptation there, right? I don't even gamble, but maybe if I, live next to one, I would do it all the time. Or, for example, let's say I really like candy and I like beer or whatever, and like, live in a place that has way too much of that, and I'm too tempted to go do those kind of things. I just one kind of example, so don't live near temptation. But moreover, live in a place that's positive. And some of the things that I think are important in managing your money is finding things that sort of make you fulfilled without having to spend money. And I'll give you two examples. One that I do all the time: go to the gym. Set goals for yourself, and it's actually kind of fun. And it's I don't know, maybe every couple of weeks, or well, because I take breaks, because we get tired sometimes. But you increase the amount of weight that you lift, right? And I keep track of it on my phone, and it's kind of cool. And, I lift a little bit more today, and like that kind of stuff. And then I'll be honest with you, gyms do cost money, but it's not like ludicrous amount of money. And focusing on keeping your body healthy is a worthy goal. And the other thing is too, what I like to do is keep building my mind. I constantly read. I constantly look at things on YouTube that inspire me, and I try to share inspirations with you. And I really honestly appreciate you guys coming back every day. The stuff's going on these days. I know I'm making a lot of videos the last couple of days, but I find it deeply, deeply frustrating. There's just so much misinformation and I guess bad influences out there, and I try my best to give a good influence to you. So I hope you appreciate this, and let's keep having this conversation, and I'll catch you on the next video.